Hello, today we are going to talk about the history of hot rodding. Now, hot rodding, this is my take, this is my view of the whole thing. Hot rodding started back post World War II. GIs were coming back from the war, and they were a little wound up. They were flying airplanes in the war, driving tanks, killing Germans. Now they started taking the cars from the 30s. Think about it. It was a 20-year or so difference in cars now. We're in the late 40s, early 50s. So they're taking cars from the 1930s, cutting the fenders off, lightening the cars, tuning up the motors, making them go faster, and that spawned the birth of speed parts. Edelbrock, Stromberg, Offenhauser. You start aftermarket parts for these flathead motors that were coming out. And just the bump in horsepower and styling and the way they dropped the cars and started chopping them and raking them, making the cars go a lot faster. As you look into the 1950s, you're looking at a great example would be like American Graffiti with John Milner's car. Was the 32 Ford.
Hey, you see this Milner, you tell him I'm looking for him, huh? Tell him I aim to blow his ass right off the road.
And supposedly had a 327, but in the movie it was mostly effects. But anyway, that car was a 327 Chevy motor. That spawned the birth of guys working on the cars, during the week, and Friday nights heading out to the strip and street drag racing and the whole scene. And also car clubs formed back then. You had car clubs, famous car clubs, that are still around to this day, some of them. And you had guys, in the same fashion, the same like-minded attitudes, working on cars, and they would share ideas. And I was in 2 car clubs, in fact, and I tell you what, they were both a lot of good people I met, and a lot of knowledge for the younger generations out there. Boy, I tell you, go and just, if you're interested in cars, go hang out with the older generations, because that knowledge that they had, they're passing away. Guys that were in their, lived that generation that was in the 50s, that are now in their 80s, we're losing all that knowledge. And I love just sitting and talking to, the older fellas that worked on the cars and the stories. So I'm going to be documenting a lot of this stuff as much as I can gather. Just from my own experience, I know a lot about cars and the older cars. When I say cars, 1970 and back. It's a dying breed. Not only is it a dying breed of finding, let's just say, a garage, an auto mechanic that can work on these cars, because they can't. The people are gone. The mechanics that were around during this generation they're passing on. So it is a old craft. Okay, not only is it an old craft knowledge wise, it's an old craft tool wise. Like flathead motors all take, it's a special tooling to even work on those motors anymore, and it's all gone. I mean, just to find a radiator guy to braze your radiator. I'm just spitballing here. all that knowledge is gone. So the hot rodding of old from the 40s, 50s, and into 60s, you still had once the muscle cars came out, that was a whole other dynamic of you could buy a car now right from the dealership that had nothing, didn't have a radio in it, didn't even have back seats in the cars. They were just as light as they could make them, like the Road Runners and cars that came right out of the factory, just a motor, and they would take them right to the drag strip. I mean, it was a awesome time for vehicles, automobiles back then. And then after 1970, it basically it all came to an end, and even they destroyed cars after the 70s with you know it's a give or take. They took away the points and gave you electronic ignition, and once they took away the points and they started integrating electronic systems into the cars, to this day, it's absolutely impossible to work on a car. Even if you buy a brand new, let's say you buy a brand new Dodge Demon 2024 off the lot, which has 900 horsepower, whatever the thing has. The only thing you could do as a hot rodder or a mechanic, whatever, is change the oil. That is it. Everything has to go back to the dealership and be plugged into the computer. They completely destroyed the cars anymore, and it's absolutely sad. I consider myself it's a dying breed. I consider myself a hot rodder. I am more of I enjoy building cars, probably a little bit more than I like just, driving them, believe it or not. I love building cars. When I tell you what you do. Next time you go to a cruise night somewhere at the DQ or a car show, your local car show that has a couple hundred cars, just walk around and look around and see the people that are owning these cars and ask some questions to them. I bet you out of 100 cars, you're going to find a handful of people that actually work on their cars still. I mean, it's a dying breed. I mean, it's a sad situation, but for me, it works out great because I can fix all these old cars, and it's a great thing. It makes you feel young again. I don't care how old you are, 80 years old, you get behind the wheel of a car, the old cars, you're a kid again, and that is a great thing, and that's why hot rodding, it's going to live on, as long as these cars are still on the road. Hot rodding will live on. Back, we used to get a subscription to, let's say, Hot Rodding magazine, and this is before the phones and the computers, and we would just, you would just go through these magazines and look at the cool stuff you could do to your car. Go down to your local speed shop. I mean, there's no more speed shops left. There used to be a couple famous ones, left, but like my local speed shop, the guys, they retired. They got in their 80s and they gave it up. I love working on cars. I love working on the old cars. I love talking to people with the same, have the same mentality towards the old cars, and I do everything on them. It's just interiors, motor, the paint. It's such a it's so gratifying to do to build a car and know that you built the whole car yourself, and it's just it's a great feeling. I do see an issue coming up in the future with the older cars, selling. cars from the 40s and 50s are starting to, you're always gonna have your 57 Chevys. The prices go through the roof, but there's just not a demand, for these older cars as much as now we're into muscle cars. But the people are passing away. The people that had that connection with these old cars, it's gone. So to bring that back to the younger generation, I do like the rat rod scene. I don't really like the safety. Some of them are built a little not safe. But I do like the scene, bringing these old cars back, and I wish more kids would get off their phones and get involved with working on cars, get your hands dirty. The prices on everything is absolutely insane. Prices are through the roof, but if you get out there, find yourself an old car, fix it up, drive it. I mean, there's so much nicer vehicles than anything they make today. It's awesome. So, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. We have a lot of content coming up, and I will see you soon. Thank you.